The name of our lesson, Guilt by Association, Part 2, False Prophets, Leaders, and Teachers. Let's begin with a reading out of Isaiah chapter 58, verse 1, so it may be known worldwide why lessons like these are timely in this hour for the house of Israel. One verse in the book of the prophet Isaiah chapter 58 verse 1 we read, "Cry loud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins." In part 1 of this lesson, Guilt by Association, we hit hard on two known wannabe messiahs for the children of Israel. Hulan Mitchell Jr., a.k.a. Yahweh ben Yahweh, who faces judgment for his blasphemy and for his leading Hebrews astray, and Ben-Ami the bus driver, a.k.a. Ben Carter, the self-appointed Messiah in the desert of Dimona, who lords over a community where known child molesters, rapists, and pedophiles are allowed to operate openly, while calling that the kingdom of Yah. Just like I told Hulan Mitchell Jr. that everything that he and his whole camp was doing would eventually be brought to the light. Last Shabbat night, I warned Ben-Ami the bus driver the exact same thing, and made sure that they all seen the lesson from last week down there in Dimona. I warned you, Ben-Ami the bus driver, that what happened to Hulan would happen to him. The whole world would soon find out what's really going down there in the so-called Village of Peace in the desert of Dimona. And believe it or not, y'all, unbeknownst to your brother Jacob, 2 days before we did part 1 of Guilt by Association last Shabbat, exactly 1 week ago, last Wednesday night, one of those young, out-of-control Hebrews down there in Dimona drugged a young sister and raped her and ran and tried to hide behind his daddy up in Ben-Ami's camp. But this time they picked the wrong one, because this little sister had a big 300-pound daddy, ex-Navy man, with SEAL training, who no longer resides down in Ben-Ami's camp, who went to the rapist's house, who drugged his daughter and raped her and beat the whiskers off that boy and his daddy. I want to commend that a Cody named Malaya, who posted on YouTube on Monday, An interview she did with that brother who defended his daughter's honor down there in Dimona, as well as numerous other interviews on her YouTube channel depicting the child molestation, rapes, and other cult-like behavior going on in the camp she resided in for over 30 years. And that sister also interviewed the young sister who was raped and drugged down there a week ago. And I'm glad to tell y'all, it looks like finally there are some Hebrews there who will seek justice for their loved ones. Because far too long, enablers have allowed known child molesters, pedophiles, rapists, wife swappers, the whole 9 yards to walk around with pride, while the victims have been silenced. Or if you make too much noise, you get ran up out the camp. On behalf of y'all brothers and sisters scattered throughout this spore, we praying for you, little brothers and sisters, because no child should be molested, even in Sodom and Gomorrah, let alone in the land of our ancestors. The very type behavior that got them through head first out the land many years ago. If there's anybody in this room that agrees with that, put a 100 up in her. For too long, silence has been allowed to reign supreme, and the innocents have been harmed beyond imagination. Real men ain't never been scared of real men. And I'm here to tell all you punks and pedophiles and perverts, y'all need to crawl up out that land on your hands and knees. Benamy the bus driver and this group of clown princes may sweep it under a rug and try to wisp it away. But I'm going to tell y'all right now, there's some brothers who done grew up down there in the ghetto of America that would blow noodles out your head for what y'all pulling down there in Dimona. And if y'all was in the United Snakes of America, most of y'all will be in the penitentiary right now for pulling little boys' drawers down past their ankles, slipping little girls' Mickeys, and laced marijuana that's synthetic. Like, have y'all lost y'all minds? And y'all got the nerve to holler, this the kingdom of God. I beg to differ. And let me tell all of you clowns, the Most High loves justice and righteousness. If all those babies got to walk around in shame from what some adult did, let alone some adult who calls himself a prince, y'all gonna have to answer for every abominable act. And we encourage our young brothers and sisters. The Most High did not intend for you to be caught up in that. And we don't like that our enemies try to hold guilt by association game by saying, look at them, they're cults. And all of them Hebrew Israelites are in a cult. The purpose of this lesson is to make it known worldwide. You can't paint all of us with no broad brush by the actions of a few. No more than we can call you Christians maniacs because of that Christian David Koresh down there in Waco, Texas. So you can flap your gums and run that guilt by association game amongst the unlearned of our brethren. But we arming our people with titanium steel so that they can hit hard. If you ever try one of Satan's tactics on one of us. So again, in part one, we hit hard on these two known wannabe messiahs and the wickedness that they're currently doing. Now we are instructed to cry loud and spare not. And it's about time for those who have first-hand knowledge of any and all of these kind of abominations to put an end to it. To be a real man of Yisrael. Because a wall of silence and being obedient to wicked men that got so many young Hebrews down there walking around in shame. And then allow these punk creeps, perverts, we break their jaws in the STL. They can't walk around untouched. They scorn. They lepers. They have to move 500 miles away. Them Negroes shouldn't be allowed to stop running till they got to the borders of Egypt. Walking around defiantly. Looking at whose son and daughter they gonna choose up on next. It's that kind of silence that allows these perverts who molest and rape young children to continue to walk around free without the fear of repercussion. You got some Hebrew daddies who would have went to that boy's house and blew his brains out, and that daddy's too, if he looked like he wanted some pistol play for doing something like that to his baby girl. A lot of these noodle-back Negroes allow their children to be sodomized and raped and keep quiet about it for fear of being kicked out the camp and their wives being handed over to some other lust-filled Negro running around down there. It's a damnable shame that this is being done in the Holy Land. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 12. Many of y'all don't read as you should the so-called lost books that the heathens have tried to keep on the low through the centuries. But with all you're getting, get you understanding concerning this book of Sirach we're about to hit. Chapter 12, verses 1 through 18. With all you're getting, get you understanding. In Sirach chapter 12, verse 1, we read, when thou wilt do good, know to whom thou doest it. Know who you doing good for, Zion. So shalt thou be thanked for thy benefits. Do good to the godly man, one who fears the Most High, and thou shalt find a recompense. You'll get paid back. And if not from him, yet from the Most High. There can no good come to him that is always occupied in evil, nor to him that giveth no alms. Give to the godly man, and help not a sinner. How you going to get around that? It's self-explanatory. Verse 5. Do well unto him that is lowly, but give not to the ungodly. when you turning over your whole checks, when your Social Security come, your disability come, and you giving it to the pimp, you done lost your mind. You giving it to the ungodly, and obviously you ain't read this Sirach with understanding. Verse 5 again. Do well unto him that is lowly, but give not to the ungodly. Hold back thy bread, and give it not unto him, lest he overmaster thee thereby. Become your master, Lord over you. For else thou shalt receive twice as much evil for all the good that thou shalt have done unto him. For the Most High hateth sinners, and will repay vengeance unto the ungodly, and keepeth them against the mighty day of their punishment. Give unto the good, and help not the sinner. A friend cannot be known in prosperity, and an enemy cannot be hidden in adversity. In the prosperity of a man, enemies will be grieved, but in his adversity, even a friend will depart. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass. I see you, player. And thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come near wild beasts? So one that goeth to a sinner, and is defiled with him in his sins. Who will pity? For a while he will abide with thee. But if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. He will shake his head, and clap his hands, and whisper much, and change his countenance. This is wisdom, Zion. Be ever mindful in the company that you keep, Yisrael. In part 2 of this lesson, this Shabbat, we're going to hit upon those who continue to prey upon the house of Yisrael. The purpose of this lesson, guilt by association, is being done to let it be known worldwide. The true remnant of the house of Yisrael don't like it when some out-of-control Hebrews have all Hebrew Israelites labeled as being in cults or hate groups, or placed on watch lists because of their wicked actions or their out-of-control behavior. We don't like that. and seeing that the Most High has indeed raised up real men of Zion who ain't scared to deal with any and all issues regarding the lost sheep of the house of Israel worldwide, we will continue to blow the trumpet in Zion and continue to warn the people and clearly let the heathens know we ain't going for that guilt by association game. You heathens love to play. Let's go to the book of the prophet Joel. Joel chapter 2, verse 1. One verse, Aki. In the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 1, we read, Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Most High cometh, for it is near at hand. In part 2 of this lesson this Shabbat, we will highlight some out-of-control Negroes, some of whom are masquerading as Hebrew Israelites, and I believe are well-paid agents to make black Hebrews look bad down here in America. Clowning on street corners, dressed like clowns, cussing out Hebrew women and each other in public spectacles to the delight of our enemies, who hurry up and label them hate groups while attempting to label any and all who call themselves Hebrew Israelites as somehow being affiliated with them. If y'all don't like that, put a 77 up in her, or am I the only one? The longer you are on this walk, the more they may try to play this game on you. Told I don't like it either. Continuing. The true remnant of Zion ain't having it. Back when I first started having Bible classes over 300 years ago, or excuse me, 30 years ago, 300 years would have been a long time, wouldn't it? No, my name ain't Jacob Methuselah Israel. It's just Jacob Israel. I'm sure I'm going to have to edit that out the tape. They're going to be like, see now, that brother full of wine over there. I knew it was something. No, don't get excited. I just couldn't read my writing right here. Looking like hieroglyphics. Well, you Hebrews crazy as all get out. Whew. Back when I first started having Bible classes, over 30 years ago, I found out about some brothers up in New York who knew that they were Hebrews from watching them on public access television. And I saw their phone number on the TV and I called them. After being in the truth for a couple of years, I wanted to know why those brothers was wearing Parliament Funkadelic type outfits with hexagrams all over them. And I wanted to holler at one of their leaders about their 12 tribes chart and how in the world they knew the exact identity of the 12 tribes of Israel, and where I could get one of those GPS 12 tribe tracking devices that they had found somewhere. The name of this Hebrew camp was the Israelite School a universal practical knowledge, or the ISUPK, that was based out of Pennsylvania. I spoke to one of the elders of the New York camp, who tried to tell me that the hexagram was the Star of David. And I gave him a homework assignment on the Seal of Solomon and told him his real name, the hexagram, and how it's one of the most satanic symbols in the occult world. It must be used to cast forth spells, demonic spells, and summon forth demons. So, I broke this brother off, gave him a homework assignment on the Seal of Solomon, told him to do a little research and find out why David would slap the taste out of his mouth for associating him with one of the most satanic symbols in the world. Who these brothers obviously didn't know that the hexagram was used by Solomon, King David's son, when he backslid and was worshiping those strange wives of his gods. And the elder also couldn't give me an answer on how they came up with the 12 tribes chart, or where I could buy one of those 12 tribe GPS tracking devices. We told those Hebrews to take them hexagrams off. But we let them know, we glad that y'all know that y'all Hebrews, man. And we calling out of love. We just hollering out our brothers out there on the East Coast. Yeah, but y'all take them hexagrams off, player. Don't never come around here with them on. We ain't having it. So they've been aware of us. We've been aware of them for quite some time. Now, it was around that time that I started teaching weekly classes, doing radio shows and a couple of TV programs, and truly became the remnant seeker that you hear today. Off and on over the next 10 to 15 years, we would contact those Hebrews out the ISUPK, the Israeli School of Practical Knowledge. Whenever we read a newspaper article on them, or saw them on a TV program like the Morton Downey Jr. show, and we would still continue to admonish them, man, y'all still ain't took them hexagrams off yet? Yeah, well, we saw y'all on Morton Downey Jr. We like how y'all handle a couple of them heathens. But I still don't get them Parliament Funkadelic outfits. I thought I saw Bootsy Collins sitting up there with y'all, with them boots on. Man, I wouldn't be caught in my basement looking like that, with nobody around. What's wrong with you cats? Well, brother, that's culture, culture. I said, you know what the main word in culture is? Cult. And hung up on them. So, we stayed in contact with them off and on during the years. They was aware of us and we was aware of them. Well, fast forward to 1999. And we found out just before the turn of the century, 2000, heathens panicking, thinking it's the end of the world. We found out in 99 here in the STL that the then leader of the ISUPK, an elder up there called Araya. This cat was prophesying loudly that Yahushua HaMashiach was coming back to earth on January the 1st, 2000 to kill all white people, and those that wouldn't be dead was going to be enslaved, and the world was going to be given back to black Hebrews. Now, with the advent of the internet at that time, just before the turn of the century, this message quickly spread, and this group of Hebrews was classified as an extremist and black supremacist group, and had Hebrew Israelites put on watch lists from one end of America to the other. We called these Hebrews and tried to speak with this wannabe prophet, Araya, to ask him if we could have the honor of giving him the brick shower he would deserve if there were any white folks left on the planet on January the 2nd, 2000. For some reason, he would never come to the phone, y'all, to answer that question. Well, of course, it didn't take long to find out this Negro was a false prophet. And right after his prophecy was proven false, and it was obvious he wasn't sent from the Most High Yah, as he claimed, one of the false prophet Araya's underlings raised up and broke off from this group and started his own. This underling's name is Jermaine Grant, also known as Tazakdia, or however you pronounce it, Tazakia, who now claims he is the Holy Comforter sent by the Most High. This nightclubbing, womanizing Negro is such an egomaniac, he has had action figure dolls made after himself and is hustling and deceiving every last one of those Hebrews sitting up under his kneecaps. But don't believe me. Let me share with y'all the link that you may see for yourself with your own eyes, as it were. The very fact that this young brother, who took advantage of the old boy looking like a damn fool come January the 2nd, made his move up in that camp, took some of the key brothers and sisters and ran on around the corner and started his own thing. And now, them very brothers that he came up with, they all at each other's throat. And then the last one of them giving Hebrews worldwide a bad name. Click on that link right there. Here's a Negro still look like he eating pig meat, with fat swollen jowls and big old pig belly hanging on him. Be up in the club sweating like he going to the electric chair. This Negro gonna get a doll made after himself. For who to play with? Is you playing with dolls? I believe this Negro is a paid agent. Harlem Church sues toy maker after talking doll in a leader's image. Do y'all see that? Can you believe that? But that's what we dealing with. Harlem Church sues toy maker Emu Vakal after talking doll and leader's likeness is not black enough. Do you see the doll right here with these Liberace style clothing on? This is what Jermaine Grant like to dress up like when he playing Hebrew. Scroll down and take a look at this Negro. You see him in them same yellow outfits the doll got on? That's the Negro running around on the East Coast calling himself the Comforter. Jermaine Grant. Mamie Grant's boy. Been out of control since he was stealing now letters when he was little. Wanna be rapper? Scroll down and look at him, look at you. Wanna be rapper? Found out he was an Israelite. Waited on old Araya to look like the damn fool he was trying to prophesy. The Most High ain't sent him, and he sure ain't sent this clown. with them Liberace outfits on. He got more sparkles on than women supposed to have on in public. Negro black as Lou Rawls and got on yellow. Looking like a big Boo sugar bear, like you should be on a box of cereal. I profess to y'all, our enemies look at these clowns, and the first thing they want to holler, we know about you Hebrews. Y'all with that Hebrew up there calling himself the Comforter? Who you talking about? Oh, Jermaine? No, we ain't with him. We ain't with Jermaine Grant. Have you lost your mind? We ain't with none of them false prophets, those deceivers, those wannabe leaders. They flow showing and clowning, and we ain't having it. Now, some might ask the question, about the so-called Comforter. But Zion, the Most High, has truly raised up watchmen in Zion who ain't scared to turn the draws off none of these clowns who would seek to defame our people, besmirch our name, and allow our enemies to use the old guilt by association game because they heard you say you a Hebrew Israelite. Y'all click on that link right there. We got a couple of short video clips. So from this day and forward, when y'all hear these Negroes, you'll know who they are just by a little simple research. So nobody may never be able to make you hold your tongue hostage, that you scared or don't want to declare that you are Israelite. Because they may start talking about one of these out of control Negroes they want to associate you with. When you got the power to simply say, I ain't with that, I roll with the Most High. So, the so-called Comforter revealed
industry and see how does everything work behind the scenes. This label promises to become one of the world's most successful record labels in the history, or entertainment labels in the history of the business. Black Icon Entertainment, with its CEO St. George the Dragon Slayer, claims to do it like nobody has ever done before. Let's take a look behind the scenes.
Spread out with it. South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, on to North Carolina, Philadelphia, Virginia. From down in Miami where it's warm in the winter, on up to Minnesota where it's storm in the winter. Pasadena, Tallahassee, Milton, Holla, BNH Town, Southside, Cloverland, Ghetto, man, out in Dallas, badass Cali, Catman, Cali with my eyes open valley, blowing that spinning, going down Vinny, drop 643, wheel, you switch it, red light stop, make it drop for the go. You head all with it, anything you hear that I said, I meant it. Can't got the crown, then spit out with it. Say you need bricks, I said I did it. We can supply you. Got enough work to feed the whole town. They won't you unless you try to. Come around and try to stop on the ground, 'cause we taking over. Said we taking over. Said we taking over. Said we taking over. It's what I does, I get money a day I does that. It's how I ride, black flag on the left too. Then ride, you better move. AK, I'm dead, get like shine, that's on my head. I'm big like get it, damn it, I'm with it. Cali, we get it, Biggie in my city. Please no fit it, get them too. The bread and get brain stupid, money that come, running like water. Money so hot, damn it, she Miami on fire, you better be. Might get on the porch.
Black Icon, what up?
Coming down Sunset, sitting on D. Feeling like Pac, all eyes on me. Fresh bandana and I'm trees. Please, I spit crack every verse a key. Some say Cali, some say Khalid. 12 years down and I finally free.
If you want to, we can supply you. Got enough work to feed the whole town. They won't shoot unless you try to. Come around and try to stop on our ground. Cause we taking over. Said we taking over. Said we taking over. Said we taking over.
Birdman dead, I'm number one. Can't make me wrong, so we got him done. The family, I'ma give him some. Spent that conda, he didn't run. Sunday had a whole church singing a song. Why they had to send my baby home? With some that paper long. Been a G in the game, now my son on the throne.
I am the beast. Feed me rappers and feed me beats. I'm untamed, I need a leash. I'm insane, I need a shrink. I love brain, I need a leech. Why complain on easy streets? I don't even talk, I let the visa speak. And I like my Sprite Easter pink. And my wrist special pub, but the mule is cooler. I have more juice than your jeweler. Touching, I will bust your medulla. That's a... It is not a tumor. Red light, stop your rumors. I stay on track like a box of Pumas. I just rock with Junior. I am the little big
Cause we taking
it
over.
One city at a time.
Did y'all see this fat-bellied Negro climbing out Rolls Royces and Maseratis and stretch Hummers, gyrating with the video hoes and clubbing, sweating like a field hand, covered in hexagrams? This Negro actually has some of our brothers and sisters so deceived that they actually are calling him the Comforter, and address this Negro with reverence. Many of y'all heard of the R&B group Belle Biv DeVoe. Two of their members or devout members of Jermaine Grant's camp, and they paying heavily in taxes called tithes and offerings. For this Negro living up in a $700,000 mansion, driving the cars you look at, while the brothers who will be made merchandise out of, the brothers and sisters, sitting up under this Negro's kneecaps, driving 72 Chevys, leaking oil. It's the old hustle game that these wolves in sheep's clothing have been devouring the flock of the lost sheep of the house of Israel for a long time. Now, as previously stated, Jermaine Grant waited for Araya to make his fatal mistake and blow it, call himself calling it, when the Messiah coming back and handing the world back over unto us. So Jermaine Grant, being the true slickster that he is, made his move. Who is Jermaine Grant? Click on this next link. Let me show y'all a little bit more about him and the background of some of these Hebrews, that you may become a victim of guilt by association of wit. Who is Jermaine Grant? Part 1.
Aching for Armageddon. The man with the most power with the extremist Hebrew Israelite movement is none other than Jermaine Grant, age 33 as of 2011, the head of the Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ. Grant arose from the lower levels of the organization to become its top leader in the year 2000. This was after Christ failed to return to earth to slay or enslave all Edomites, as had been long prophesied by Grant's predecessor, Uriah, the movement's founding father. It was a period of great tumult within the extremist Israelite world. Many of Uriah's high-ranking followers split off to form their own new factions, while inside the church organization, Grant's star ascended just as rapidly as Uriah's fell. A former rap music label owner and restaurateur, Grant is a highly charismatic figure.
What's going to happen? Because every time you try to feed it, it ain't that you're compassionate, but every time you try to feed an animal, you get bit. Animals are...
Although his Hebrew name is Tzadkiah, his title is Chief High Priest. He is also sometimes referred to by others as the Holy Spirit made flesh.
The Comforter, I really do. I thank God.
Today, he can be seen in numerous YouTube videos preaching to gatherings of hundreds and typically dressed in shiny silk robes and head wraps rendered in blues and purples. He's often pictured in stretch limos or tour buses, very elaborately made, with his portrait and his nickname, The Comforter. Since 2001, Grant has produced the Archangel Awards, a version of the Grammys for musical artists who are vowed loyalists to the Israelite Church. The most often of them is Wanya Morris, the lead singer of Boys and Men, a popular R&B group that's won 4 real Grammys and sold over 60 million records. According to the former members of the church, Grant has instituted mandatory tithes and general offerings from his followers. Also, during his 2006 I Will Not Leave You Comfortless tour, in which he toured 6 East Coast states in 8 weeks, Grant reportedly demanded an additional $25 per attendee in the form of an additional high priest offering. Another world tour is planned later this year. Grant, who did not reply to a request for an interview to this article, is an energetic man. Under his leadership, the Israelite Church had expanded rapidly, and its hidden truth television programming can be seen on public access channels around the country. Meanwhile, the tone of the extremist Hebrew Israelite grows ever more apocalyptic, with his followers feverishly searching for signs of a bloodthirsty black Yahweh's impending return. This summer, well, according to the time of 2008, Grant boldly predicted that a hellish earthquake would soon herald the return of Christ and the beginning of Hebrew Israelite rule. Everyone knows that, just a side note, but everyone knows that Jesus had prophesied about earthquakes in diverse places in all the Gospels. It never said anything about a Hebrew Israelite rule, but everyone knows that that's what Jesus prophesied. So it's nothing new. Anyway, he didn't set a date, but his prophecy still heightened the mood of eager anticipation for the coming doom of all enemies of the true Israelites. That, coupled with the increasing militants and the numbers of his movement, is basically what worries us all.
Here's a fat-bellied Negro dressing like the Pope with hexagrams all over his Liberace outfits, prophesying about earthquakes that didn't happen as he claimed they would, who has given Hebrew Israelites a bad name, which causes our enemies to try to associate all Hebrew Israelites with these types of out-of-control Negroes. They try to use that old guilt by association game. Now in part 2 of Who is Jermaine Grant, you're about to be introduced to John Lightbourne, better known as General Yohana, the current leader of the ISUPK, who you may have often seen up on the street corners of New York and D.C., putting on a sideshow for all to see. General Yohana was interviewed by Esquire magazine, and y'all about to witness an excerpt of it. In part 2 of Who is Jermaine Grant. It's time many of y'all lay eyes on this brother, General Yohana. How you gonna be the General, Ark, and you gonna make me Buck Private Jacob? You think that's gonna work with some Hebrews out the STL? Negro, you done lost your mind.
God and the General. Leader discusses black supremacist group. Here's the intro. Question from the interviewer. Are you familiar with the late Yahweh ben Yahweh and his violently anti-white Hebrew Israelite cult, the Nation of Yahweh? Yohana replies, I'm not familiar with how the group emerged and why he chose Miami, where the Nation of Yahweh was based in the 1980s at the time. There wasn't any Hebrew Israelites down there, so maybe that's why. But he, like Tazadakia, leader of the Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ, another Hebrew Israelite group, tried to take a man and make himself a god. Once you elevate men above men, you basically have a demagogue and a cult, and sooner or later the nature of the Hebrew Israelite will not allow that God-man to survive. Question from the interviewer. Who is Tazadakia, legal name Jermaine Grant? What's his background? Yohana answers, he was actually a part of my camp in Manhattan on 50th and Broadway. At the time, the early 90s, he was in the music industry trying to become a rapper. There was a need for someone to run our video department. He was chosen as an assistant to the head of video, which gave him access to the leaders. That's how he became known. Even now, he's only known because of the authorization from Uriah, one of the founding 7 heads, leaders of the Hebrew Israelite movement, but now they're showing Tazadakia as some great new charismatic leader. Most of what is a facade. The bus he used to go on the I Will Not Leave You Comfortless tour were staged. Those buses were being rented out to make him look like he's a superstar. He, just like any other ambitious rapper who, when they get a contract, they have to make themselves look flashy and appear the part, which is basically what the Israelite church has done. The people in the church are in horrible poverty, and just as a side note, anybody can check with a good friend of mine, Rebel Alliance Media, to confirm that. Check out his videos. Continuing. Meanwhile, Tazadakia is charging $1,500 to attend their annual Passover, and thousands of dollars in quote-unquote priest fees to keep the facade going in order to get more people to his organization. We consider that, like all other churches, just money-grubbing occults and establishments. They just have the title Israelite on it. Next question. What are the major differences between your doctrine and theirs? Yohana replies, well, one, we always thought that Jesus Christ did not come from a virgin birth. Now, they teach Jesus came from the Immaculate Conception. The Israelite school never endorsed the idea in its entire history. We teach he was born from a man and a woman, Joseph and Mary. The second change was they changed the name of God, saying that Yahweh wasn't God's name. Now, they teach, like the Roman Catholics, that Jesus is God, and it's actually Jesus you're reading about in the Old Testament. The biggest change came, though, when Tazadakia declared himself as the Comforter and the Holy Spirit, quote-unquote.
First of all, a man is the Holy Spirit. I am the Holy Spirit. I am the comforter that God
The one
has.
the scripture says comes before Christ's return. Just before Christ's return. And just as a side note, I have not found any information like that in the New Testament. Continuing. You live only by the Old Testament laws, some of which, like polygamy, are illegal. We don't go against the law. But we believe that, according to the Bible, man has the right to have more than one woman. Now, they have gays getting married and all kinds of stuff, saying adults should be able to marry children and animals. In the Bible, marriage is between man and woman. We teach young men that they should not be promiscuous and sleep around with a bunch of women. We say not to do those things. And the Lord is against the abuse of women. That means if you have sex with her, you are to spend the rest of your life with her, unless she commits adultery. That's all the information I found on Tazadakia, aka Jermaine Grant the Comforter. There may be more out there. If there is, anybody can email me at ssoreal@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for more.
Now notice how our enemies, when they put these little 5-minute clips together, love to associate Hebrew Israelites as being in cults and in extremist organizations and hate groups. These are code words that our enemies will use and try to apply to the whole body of all those who publicly let it be known, I'm a Hebrew Israelite about the tribes of Yisrael. Now, as previously stated, I believe some of these Negroes are paid agents, paid to clown publicly, to give interviews to television and radio stations and newspapers and magazines. And oh, how the heathen love to eat it up and run with it. And then all they got to do is whisper that one says something about the other. Then they like Tupac and Biggie. They mortal enemies. Now, notice how the general in his camp believes that Yahushua was conceived in fornication between Mary and Joseph. Oh, Mary and Joseph was horny, wasn't they? Or they just ran on off to the back of the barns down in them pastures and got busy in fornication, did they? That's what the Messiah, you Negroes and lost y'all mind. And y'all still teaching that madness up there. Yohana was quick to call Jermaine Grant's group a cult, but admitted he came up through his organization. Yet we often see the general and his crew in a clown outfits on, overladen with hexagrams, in public. They on the street corners, acting like fools, giving people the public perception that this is how Hebrew Israelites look and act. Sometimes they will single out Hebrews doing their side shows. And instead of using the word to show our brothers and sisters the truth, they use it to provoke some of them into getting into heated arguments and wild cussing matches that leads to the stereotypes that our enemies will often try to apply to us. If y'all understand what Brother Jacob is saying, put a 7 up in her, please. Todah. Continuing. Now we're instructed in the Word on how we suppose to handle the holy word of the Most High Yah. Let's go to the book of Titus. Titus chapter 1, verses 9 through 10. Titus 1, chapter 1, verses 9 and 10. And again, I admonish you, Zion, with all your getting, get you understanding. In Titus 1, verse 9 and 10, we read, holding fast the faithful word as he has been taught, that he may be able by sound doctrine both to exhort and to convince the gainsayers. You supposed to hold fast the word as it is being taught. That you might be able, by sound doctrine, you got to know what you're reading and studying and ask the Most High for understanding before you can call yourself going out into the world and trying to teach it. And you sure can't teach it to them by cussing them out and talking down to them. Especially Hebrews. Verse 11, and we stop. Who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought not, for filthy lucre's sake. How can them Negroes stand out on the corner 7 days a week? Ain't none of them got no job? Because they got brothers and sisters in their camp who do got jobs, and they begging for tithes and offerings, just like Cash Flow Dollar and T.D. Snakes. It's sickening. They laying up on sisters who got the jobs, paying all the bills, and to convince their coatees that they putting in work for the Most High. But they counting her money so she can cash her check. Because they still want their reefers and their 40 ounces. When they kicking it with the boys. And quote unquote handling their business on these side shows that they handling. I'm here to tell y'all we are instructed on how we supposed to handle sound doctrine. And if you handle it well enough, you can exhort your brethren and you can even convince the gainsayers, the non-believers.